Hey guys, hope you're well. Today we'll be looking at an amateur fight from Terence Crawford. I don't know who he's boxing in this, nor do I know if he even wins this fight. I picked round one of the fight because it's one of the only amateur bouts that I've actually seen uploaded from Crawford. So if you have any that you know on YouTube, put the link in the comments and I'll check it out because this is the only one I could find. His opponent was very, very solid this round, which is a good thing. I do definitely want to do more amateur fights of every boxer that I study because if I'm being honest, the main audience that I want to attract here is, of course, people who love boxing, but also a lot of amateur boxers themselves. And what better way to learn than to break down amateur boxers and amateur bouts? So the first thing that we're going to see is Crawford shuffle near the centre, raise his high guard, and then start moving around to his left. Now, the thing that Crawford's going to do the most in this round is move around to the left with his lead hand and look for counters in that way. So as you can see, the first look he throws is a high guard look. Then he goes into the sort of low lead hand, a sort of wand, if you will, goes back into his high guard, all circling to the left, and then just pumps out his first touch jab. And you can see how long his reach is already with this very technical double jab as he circles around to his left. Okay, circling around to your left will always square up the opponent, even if it cuts the distance a bit shorter for a right hand. If you have a long reach like this, you have an advantage of the right hand being quite far away from you, even whilst you're circling into it. After this, he sort of steps back, moves around to the left with a slip look, with two slip looks actually, and then his opponent, as you can see, sort of feints the jab. Crawford immediately reacts, parries out, and jabs forwards. None of this lands so far, but as you can see, from it being in the air, he gets confident from knowing his distance a little bit better and then pumps out a double jab again whilst moving to the left. So you can see already the most important thing is how consistent is lead hand here. He's going in a little bit more of a classic look and then he pumps out a jab as he moves with this sort of inside slip, and then he's going to turn it around a little bit, use a couple of slip looks and then feint, come around with the hook instead. Now, all of these are landing to the air and the gloves. However, I would argue that the consistency of his lead hand, as well as changing it up a bit, is what's controlling him the range at the moment. And the more reads you make early on in the fight, the more it will help you out in that third round. And all of these touch jabs and jabs to the gloves in the air, they're reads, okay? All right. So he shuffles forward, is a little bit more aggressive, is sort of feinting out his lead hand a little bit, then steps forward with a jab, and then straight away steps back very, very subtly, just to make sure he's in the right distance to counter. His opponent bites on this look because he's looking for a counter right now, and then he tries to parry with the front hand whilst coming in with the two over the top. But this is the whole game plan for Crawford, is to occupy you at long range with long jabs, and then as soon as you commit to counter, usually at frustration, then he decides to look for a counter. You can see after this he sort of pivots out and circles again to his left quickly. He shuffles into the left side and then pops out this really nice jab which lands well. Again, a slip look as he moves to his left, another touch jab, and being very aware of any counters now. As you can see, he jabs the glove and then uses his parry to defend the counter shot. Once he sets his feet, he sort of looks for a counter a little bit. He sees there's nothing to bite on, so he decides to move to the inside with his jab. Same thing again and again. Now he's using some slip looks. He's going to jab forward again. This time his opponent makes this read and tries to do the sort of same thing that Crawford does with the front hand parry as he slips inside and tries for the right hand over the top. Now I think Crawford just about to turn his head, and that's all due to the fact that he steps out just very subtly and tries to pull away from this follow-up shot. But Red here has actually been super patient with his counter shots and sort of lulled Crawford into a false sense of confidence. Crawford breaks his base and circles off to his left. Then he comes back in with a jab which is slipped. As you can see, he's way more aware of counters now because you can see his parry hand go out. Continues to circle his opponent, and again, if any of my boxers are watching this is the hula hoop drill to the left, okay? This is exactly what the hula hoop drill is. Circling off, stepping in and stepping out with an attack, okay? So as you can see here, he waits patiently, throws a couple of looks, steps in with a jab, steps back out with his parry, now is very aware of what might be coming back and keeps making sure that lead hand defense is his priority. As you can see here, staying very cautious. A couple more slip looks, and as you can see here, he gets super bladed. As soon as his opponent commits forward, he times this jab to the forehead while staying a little bit more bladed to defend this right hand to the body as he steps out. Here he's circled enough, and what happens is he circles off to his left again whilst using his jab, and as you can see, just from shuffling forward, his opponent starts to take a couple more back steps. Crawford's happy to come forward, use another slip look before using a double jab. The first one he touches with, and the second one he steps in to land this really, really nice jab here. Again though, his opponent has sort of let him be a little bit too confident, and he's going to catch Crawford just by knowing that the jab is next. Crawford throws it out, it gets parried, and he gets countered rather quickly with this jab here. This is why it's important to diversify the lead hand as much as you can, especially with the lead hand feints and level changes, and not to always throw the jab at the same speed, to keep changing it up as much as possible. Crawford's only thrown a counter right hand this round, but this time he comes forward, he sort of squares up his base and then just pops out this 2 to the forehead here. Really hard to read, and then he pivots out, comes back into the left. He jabs again using that really long reach of his, shuffles forwards. As you can see, he's sort of leaning over and baiting his opponent in red to throw something, and when he doesn't, he feints the lead hand and tries to come around with a hook. He's still a bit out of range for that, and just manages to be out of range for this counter here. Here he's going to decide to switch southpaw. I'm not sure why yet, but I think he just wants to give his opponent a different look. And he just walks over to the left. As his opponent closes the distance, he flicks out this up jab just to make sure his opponent stays hesitant of closing in on him. He then sort of shortly resets around to his left, keeps touching with the lead hand, is now looking for a counter with these sort of hand feints. He then hooks to the air as a feint and then jabs in between. Lovely work. He shuffles around to his right. He's making sure that he's very alert of his opponent's lead hand. He wants to defend it as much as possible and then tries to jab in between. He's embracing the role of a counter puncher here. He then moves around to his left, back into the center, keeps touching the lead hand just to make sure he's getting his reads right, and is then going to decide that his opponent isn't biting on anything, so he can't counter, so he's going to decide to set up his own attacks. As you can see, he moves around to his right with this feint, and then he uses a double jab which backs up his opponent. He's going to capitalize on the space by shuffling in cautiously. He's going to keep making sure he's defending the lead hand, and then he's just going to sort of pull back, come forward with a lead hand feint, and then just pop out this 2 here. Very sneaky shot for you southpaws with a long reach. Now here, all of these jabs, very similarly to how Ennis sets up his counters, have been setting up that his opponent is now going to bite out of frustration, okay? So here, he jabs to the forehead as he steps in, sees that his opponent's opening up, so he wants to parry and step back, and then try hook over the top with a counter. All of this has been a bait in order to set up a counter like this. I don't think the check really lands, but he pivots off and then just comes back into his left with a couple of slip looks, and then is content to occupy his opponent with a couple of more touch jabs. And it's kind of rinse, wash, repeat from here. You can see he's feinting, using his lead hand, using his nice looks, moving around to his right. As soon as his opponent opens up again, he's going to try to control the lead hand as he moves backwards, parry with his backhand, and then try hook over the top. His opponent times him pretty well here, to be honest. And just as a little side note, in his professional fights, Crawford is known for getting hit quite a bit in his first few rounds, but see how much that changes in 9 rounds or 10 rounds. Do you understand? He then suddenly has the timing with his parry that he didn't have in the first round, and then these shots aren't landing anymore and he's countering them over the top. So this is what is meant by some people who are just way more suited to the professional. Some people take more time to figure out their timing, especially when someone's fresh and sharp for 3 rounds. So anyway, he gets hit to the body, he tries to shuffle back in. He's using a sort of low guard here, using some hand feints, jabbing off to the right. He keeps going with this system. And then as his opponent tries to take the outside foot position, Crawford is happy to reset very shortly, take back the center, and again try this inside angle to land his jab instead. A little feint as he re-establishes his base, a couple of hand feints, a jab off to the right, and we're kind of seeing the same things here. Here he goes into this really, really bladed look, very commanding as he shuffles off to his right. Again, a low lead hand. His opponent feints the entry, and as you can see, Crawford reacts straight away by parrying with the backhand and feinting his own counter out, okay? Very, very aware, and that's what he's looking for. That's the main thing he's looking for. His opponent feints him again, and Crawford reacts quite defensively. If anyone does know his opponent's name, please let me know in the comments, because he does seem like a really intelligent boxer. Crawford wants to occupy him. He doesn't want to get feinted back, so he decides to occupy him by jabbing off to the right, shuffling in, jabbing again to the gloves. And here's an interesting exchange. Crawford feints now instead of jabbing, which his opponent bites on. He's going to try to counter that feint and then come in with a 3-punch combination. Now, if we look at Crawford, he feints, sort of pulls back with the parry, tries to come in with the hook, which lands to the body. But because his opponent follows up with 3 punches instead of just 2, he gets the better of this exchange by finishing up with a right hand and tries for the left hook, but Crawford pivots away. Really high level exchange. I mean, this is a Golden Gloves fight, I'm pretty sure, so I wouldn't expect nothing else. You can see Crawford sort of reset here, and he's going to do something pretty interesting where he just resets as a southpaw but comes back in as an orthodox boxer, which sort of confuses the range a little bit more, and he tries to land this jab, but his opponent is very alert and just pulls away from it. And so does Crawford, to be fair. Any threat of a counter, and he's already stepped out of range. Crawford comes back in with a sort of lead hand feint, which is really nice. He then slips in, tries to jab the top of the head. You can see this tiny steps out after the jabs, just to make sure he's at the correct distance at all times. Here he's looking for a counter again. His opponent jabs to the body. Crawford tries to slip inside and come back up with this really intentful left hook. Now, the thing that he's missing in the 4 decisions right now is his threes, isn't it? So he's doing a lot of lead hand work, a lot of looks for counters and a lot of resets, but not necessarily any intentful attacks with his combinations. So here he's going to move forward, close some distance, use a bit of slip looks, and then step in with a jab, 2 over the top, step in with a hook. But because his opponent uses a set defense, they're sort of at this close range position in the middle. Crawford tries to push him off, but his opponent just manages to sneak one in as he's pulling away. You want to be really careful of that in the amateurs. Crawford's back into a southpaw position, moves around to his right and shuffles, tries for another 3, this time with a double jab backhand. And look at his opponent when he throws this 3. His opponent's looking for a counter. He reacts really well to the first touch jab, pulls away, and then just right hooks over the top and a wonderful left hook before stepping out himself. Really nice timing by his opponent. But if we look at Crawford, he tries for the touch jab in with the second, come in with the 2, and then finish with this hook at the end. He only really lands this jab in this exchange, and you can see he doesn't really get the better of it. But Crawford's main point scoring tactic is to use his lead hand, and as you can see, after this exchange, straight away just pops out his long lead hand and just tries to land it to the top of the head. It's partially parried, but I do think it lands. He's following him, cutting him off to the left with a couple of feints and slip looks, and then that's the end of the round. Really high level round from both boxers. Again, please let me know if you know the name of his opponent in the red head guard. But yeah, do hope you enjoyed that. I really do love watching amateur boxing, so I will do much more of that. If you have a favourite pro boxer, let me know who that is and I can break down one of his amateur fights as well. Okay, happy training, guys. See you soon.